What's up, YouTube? Welcome to the first of 3 different mid-year album countdowns that I'll be doing on this channel. We're kicking things off today with my top 10 metal albums of 2016 thus far. If you're watching this video, you're probably at least semi-aware of just the sheer amount of exciting metal releases that we've had in these past 6 months. So putting together this list was not easy. It was fucking heartbreaking to omit some of the albums I omitted. And then beyond that, once I had it down to a solid 10 that I was really confident about, I kind of drove myself nuts just listening and re-listening to these albums to make sure I got my order right. But just know that this list and the order it's in is solely based on what albums I personally connected with the most. And it's also kind of a byproduct of timing in a way, because 3 of the albums that made this list literally came out this month, whereas there's others that I've been living with already for 4 or 5 months. So please be sure to watch to the end of this video for a list of honorable mentions and also a list of albums that I've heard but I haven't really sat with for hours and hours, and therefore be kind of disingenuous to include them here, at least for now. Alright, with that shit out of the way, let's get into it. Coming in at number 10 is Bellicor with their brand new 4th album, Vessels. Like, it literally just came out this past Friday. But I got into these guys in 2012 off the Breath and Bone record, which at the time was a no-brainer because of my intense love for bands like Insomnium and Dark Lunacy. And this new record, Vessels, is full of more soaring, gorgeous, melodic death metal epics. It's really a bummer I don't have the time to give this thing the full review treatment on this channel, because it really is a shining example of this subgenre being given the maximalist treatment. Unfortunately, it's too early in the game for it to move up any higher on this list, but it definitely deserves to be here already, and I'm really interested to see how I'm going to feel in a few months with the passage of time. At number 9, we've got the new Nails record, You Will Never Be One of Us, the band's 3rd full-length. This thing is fucking absurdly, homicidally aggressive. Like, the first 14 minutes are just this frantic explosion of destructive energy before finally, like, on the last track, they come crawling back. Things dial back a little bit. But as is the goal with power violence or grindcore, whatever you want to call it, this thing leaves you as a listener gasping for air and wondering whether there's any sonic extreme past what you're fucking hearing. And beyond just being extreme, this thing has no shortage of great riffs and breakdowns and just a killer guitar tone. So if you're looking for a record that just cuts out all the bullshit and just goes straight for the fucking throat, this album does it better than any other record I've heard this year. At number 8, we've got the new Hatebreed album, the Concrete Confessional, which I reviewed pretty positively on here last month, but since then, it has just continued to grow on me with every listen and every trip to the gym, let's be real here, to the point where I can honestly say, somewhat controversially but confidently, that this is the best Hatebreed record since Perseverance. I swear. Not only is this Hatebreed's most diverse record to date, you know, there's some real punky stuff, some early 90s hardcore, some straight thrash, some groove metal, but these are the best fucking lyrics of Jamie Joss's career. This time around, for most of the album, he reaches way beyond the standard Hatebreed motivational anthems and touches on substance abuse and anxiety and social issues and politics, and addresses them all both eloquently and viciously. And in particular, the track Something's Off is easily one of my top 5 songs that I've heard anywhere this year, and I'm really stoked to see it getting some airplay and some attention on Octane. But yeah, if you're a fan at all of hardcore or mosh-friendly groove metal, you're going to want to give this a shot, even if you're not the biggest Hatebreed fan. Next down the list is Amon Amarth with Jomsviking, the 10th studio album and first concept record from these veteran melodic death metal Vikings. Now, to me, given the rich Norse mythology themes that run through all their music, the Amon Amarth experience has always been much more lyrically centered than a lot of their contemporaries. And, you know, musically they always deliver, but the fact that this was a concept record and it had this continuous, compelling narrative really enhanced the listening experience and the music in general for me. That, and they took a few creative risks, at least by Amon Amarth standards, that paid off on tracks like Raise Your Horns, the very Iron Maiden inspired At Dawn's First Light, and my personal favorite, the Doro Pesh assisted A Dream That Cannot Be. I'm honestly kind of shocked because I never thought a band this repetitive would make a list like this, but this is their best and most ambitious album to date without question. And you know, if they toured behind this and said, look, we're going to play Jomsviking from start to finish, and that's the fucking show, I would definitely go. At number 6 is the Ihsahn record Arktis, which finds one of black metal's key figures returning for another genre-defying, impossibly eclectic solo album that breathes new life into metal. Like, this guy must be the biggest metal nerd / music nerd on the face of the earth, because this thing touches on every subgenre. Seriously. You've got the opening track, Disassembled, which toggles between some Opeth-style grooves and a huge hard rock chorus. Then you've got a track like Pressure that bursts into black metal halfway through. Then you got a track like Crooked Red Line, which incorporates beautiful jazzy saxophone. And then Until I Too Dissolve has these shameless, like, mid-80s Dokken-style guitar riffs that I, of course, went especially nuts over. I mean, all these different styles meshed together on one album makes for an absolutely thrilling listen, even if a couple songs kind of drag here and there. Okay, number 5, Killswitch Engage with Incarnate. Their second album since the return of original vocalist Jesse Leach, but their first record written entirely with him. This thing just, I mean, you can watch my review here, but this thing just completely exceeded my expectations and fucking floored me. Essentially, Jesse Leach gives the vocal performance up a lifetime on here. I mean, he delivers such a complete spectrum of emotions, whether vocally in how he performs his lyrics or the lyrics themselves. Like, what I get from Jesse is almost like what I get from the best, most introspective hip-hop. It feels like he's in the room with you, pouring out his heart, and it just happens to be a superb batch of songs as well. I mean, The Great Deceit, Until the Day, Alone I Stand, Hate by Design, It Falls on Me, just goes on and on and on. This record epitomizes the melodic American metal core that Killswitch helped pioneer. Just ahead of Killswitch at number 4 is Megadeth with Dystopia. Now, anyone who knows me knows that Megadeth is pretty much my favorite band ever, but even I had counted them out after fucking Super Collider ruined my 2013. But then we got yet another lineup change, as is par for the course with Megadeth, which brought in pretty much my favorite guitar player ever in Angra's Kiku Lureru, and one of my favorite drummers ever in Lamb of God's Chris Adler. So I was fucking stoked. And apparently, this lineup change not only reinvigorated me as a fan, but reinvigorated the fucking band, because this thing rips. In terms of modern Megadeth, which I classify as anything after Risk, this album, Dystopia, is neck and neck with Endgame for the best of modern Megadeth. And you can watch my full review here, but if I had to pick 3 key highlights, it'd have to be Poison Shadows, the title track Dystopia, and the second half of Lying in State. Welcome back, Megadeth. At number 3, taking home the bronze, is Gojira with Magma, another brand new one that I actually just reviewed here last week. It's a divisive record, but for my money, this is Gojira's countdown to extinction. It's a highly acclaimed band experimenting and streamlining their style a bit without really compromising any quality. With Magma, Gojira made their gateway album, and while I fucking love From Mars to Sirius, I can't be mad at it because ironically, the track Stranded on here is one of my favorites, and that's the biggest stylist departure of everything. And then there's songs like Prey and Only Pain, which are classic sounding Gojira tracks. So if you ask me, Gojira has done it again, and they managed to shake things up in the process. Number 2 on my list, narrowly missing the gold, is Deftones with Gore. Full review here. Unfortunately, I don't have time to gush endlessly, but this album is fucking beautiful, and for the rest of my life, it's going to be forever tied to the spring of 2016 for me, probably in a pretty emotional way. All 11 tracks come together so nicely in a real dynamic but cohesive fashion, and frontman Chino Moreno delivers several goosebump-inducing choruses, including but not limited to Heart's Wires, Prayers Triangles, Xenon, and my personal song of the year so far, Phantom Bride. I got into Deftones a few months before this record in preparation for reviewing it, and it's one of the best decisions I have ever made. And numero uno, Vektor's Terminal Redux. This is a proggy, techy, thrash concept album that crams every type of riff under the sun into 70 plus minutes. It's just masterful. In addition to thrash, there's a lot of extreme metal influences as well. Drummer Blake Anderson occasionally opts for some full-on blast beats, and I love how frontman David DeSanto's vocal delivery is pretty much a black metal vocal almost. It's similar to Chuck Schuldiner from Death. The super prominent bass playing from Frank Chin is also out of this world, and the record gets a lot more dynamic in its second half as the narrative kind of approaches its climax. Like on the song Collapse, David DeSanto is actually doing a lot of clean singing, which is then layered beautifully with screaming halfway through the track. Just one of my favorite things about Terminal Redux is it's so dense and so intricate that there's so much to unpack about it. This came out in early May, and I'm still coming back to it, trying to figure it out. And that's what's kind of kept it in the heaviest rotation for me of all these records. And on top of that, in the month and a half or whatever it's been since the release of this album, I graduated college, I've been transitioning into adulthood. A lot of that is really stressful, and this has been the one album more than any on this list that I've been able to constantly come back to and just have it take me into this whole other universe and just crush my fucking brain for like an hour and 15 minutes. So I really didn't have to think at all about what was going to be number one on this list. And it seems like we're all pretty much in agreement because this thing has gotten an amazing reception. Even fucking NPR named it as like the only metal album on their list of mid-year albums. So there you have it, my top 10 metal albums of 2016 thus far. Stay tuned for honorable mentions and for 2 more mid-year lists coming your way this week. As always, thanks so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe, leave a comment, or shoot me a message so we can continue to talk music, and I'll see you guys soon.
No phones inside the telly, pics inside the celly. Baby, you know the house rules. Yeah, respect over a dollar, death before dishonor. Partner, you know the house rules. If I'm up, you can't be down, and I'm down to tear shit up for you.